Today I'll be speaking with historian D.L. Fowler, the author of Lincoln Raw and the award-winning The Turn. Some historians say that Lincoln and Joshua Speed were lovers. They shared a bed for almost 4 years and wrote countless intimate, intense letters to one another, even as they courted and eventually married women.
I think that we have to start, though, by looking at the culture of the day. And it was probably more unusual for two single bachelors to not share a bed, when they're both, one of them is starting a store and the other one is flat broke,
What did you think of me when I first walked into your store?
We have shared a bed for more than 4 years, Abe, and now you ask me this?
Oh, yes.
Do you wish me to be honest? Very well. You were gawky, weird-looking really. Some would say ugly. Others would also say it. But you were perfectly natural, charming even. I was intrigued.
Fair enough.
You wanted to build a bed to live in a barn somewhere, I suspect.
But I could not afford the materials, though your store offered a fair price.
Instead, I moved you in.
I moved myself in. One saddlebag, done.
I have never regretted it.
What about the night with the beans?
I regret the beans.
What about the night you brought a girl home?
I regret the girl.
I was helpful during the trickier parts.
You were.
'Tis the peculiar misfortune of both you and me, Joshua, to dream dreams of Elysium far greater than anything that can be earthly realized.
Sure. Good night, Abe.
Good night, Speed.
Gay erasure is nothing new for historians, but the intense friendship between Lincoln and Speed transcended easily definitions. When either man courted a woman, the other man became depressed. Even though they offered each other advice, Lincoln wrote to Speed, "My desire to befriend you is everlasting. I will never cease for as long as I do anything."
Who's that?
I still have that letter.
Lincoln moved awkwardly, many said, and physically he was emotionally inexpressive. A journalist at the time who had a chance to meet him personally, Henry Villard, said of him, "Although I found Lincoln good-natured and full of wit, I could not take a personal liking to the man owing to an inborn weakness of his, an inordinate fondness of jokes and stories, and a seeming inability to know when it was an appropriate time to share them."
Well, Henry and Robert Lincoln must have spent a lot of time together, because Robert Lincoln felt the same way about his father, by the way. But I think that one's on Henry. I really think it's on Henry, because Lincoln grew up on the prairie.
Yeah.
His father was a storyteller. His uncle was a storyteller. And Lincoln was a great storyteller, and that's what he loved to do. That's how he illustrated and made made his points with people. Some people who were a little bit stuck up and aristocratic, and that was part of Henry's personality. He was known as aristocratic, and he was a stuffed shirt, I think they call it, and so he would react that way. So did Mary Lincoln, by the way, and so did Robert Lincoln. They had the same feelings about Lincoln's stories. I think it was Stanton, his Secretary of War, was impatient with him. It was, "Hey, just get to the point, okay? Tell us what you want to do. Don't give us these prairie stories, But people really liked them, And back then, you could take more liberties with the way you poke fun at people.
You must thread the hook through the outer layer of the frog's skin. That way the frog feels no pain.
Until the bass eats it.
Pain and death are a very different thing, Henry.
It's bait, Abe. It's expendable. Why care what it feels?
Let me explain it in a different way.
Not another prairie story.
Yes, another prairie story.
Oh.
My father was a very stoic man. The loss of my little brother and my beloved mother surely weighed on him.
Don't excuse him, man.
He's gone, Henry.
The dead are still accountable, Abraham.
Hard times were off times, and it seemed my father consulted no man or God, but made decisions with a swift brutality like a lightning strike. And so it came to pass, he set to slaughtering my hog, my pet hog, whom for me had been my constant companion since the time I was 6. So I took my hog and ran into the woods, stayed away all day and all night, but the inevitable came to pass. And when I heard my friend squeal, I ran until I fell on the forest floor. Still, today, even though I've lived more years than I ever thought I would, still, today, I hear his cry.
Who keeps a pig for a companion?
Well, I did, Henry. Death and pain are not the same, Henry. One is the natural order, and the other is cruelty.
Some historians have argued that Lincoln was on the autism spectrum due to numerous reports of his awkward social presence and his inability to read the room.
It's a constant indulgence.
No one's forcing you to listen, Henry.
Lincoln dreamed of his own death by assassination on more than one occasion. And he also had seemingly prescient dreams about harm coming to his children by various means. Those closest to him, like his wife Mary, took his dreams very seriously.
I think it goes back to Lincoln's personality, being an empath essentially. He would feel things very deeply. Those feelings would bubble up even in unconsciousness or subconsciousness. He was never really bothered by the notion of dying. It never really bothered him. But let's remember of all of the losses that he had incurred, and so those dreams would disturb him, not from the point of view so much of, I'm going to die, I might die, but how is my death going to affect other people? And if you think about the dreams of his assassination, it had more to do with he was watching these people who were in the room, mourning over his death. It wasn't that, oh my gosh, I'm lying there dead. It was these people. That's what he described. And so that's kind of the personality he had. Every decision he ever made was contingent on its impact on people emotionally.
Yeah.
Abe, you're pale as a ghost and twice as haunted. Did you dream again?
If only you spoke an untruth, Mary. I've never wished for something more.
By act of God or act of man, I know not how you come to employ these dreams, my husband, but this I do know. They are to be heeded. Tell me your visions, Abe.
I saw myself as I am today, but standing on the shore of a lake so grand that it might as well have been the Atlantic Ocean.
Was anyone there? Anyone to be seen?
I just had a stone. A stone the size of my hand.
A sizable stone?
And when I dropped it into the water, the ripples became tsunami.
Why did you drop it, Abe?
Because it grew so heavy, Mary. I could no longer bear it.
Famously, Lincoln dreamed of his own death on more than one occasion, including at least once at the hands of an assassin, which ultimately is how Lincoln's life ended. But mortsomnia were not his only premonitions. In an 1863 letter to his wife Mary, he asked her to put Tad's pistol away, as he had an ugly dream about him. Mary complied. Despite their marriage reportedly being one of frequent contention, and despite Mary's own sophistication compared to Lincoln's country simplicity, Mary always took his dreams seriously.
What's sophistication?
What's simplicity?
It means Daddy's a hillbilly.
On January 6th, 2021, more than 2,000 supporters of President Donald Trump converged on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. At the end of the Civil War, Lincoln granted leniency toward the Confederate leaders of the insurrection.
For me, that's a tough pill to swallow, because I know that I'm going to call it from an eternal perspective, that was right. But 150 years down the road, and we're still fighting the same war, I'm worried that was, for the here and now, that was a mistake. But yes, and I think that has a lot. That really goes deep into Lincoln's history as a human being. Lincoln Lincoln had a reputation as around New Salem Village, where he first entered politics, as being the infidel. Lincoln never joined a church in his whole life. He famously said at one point, 2 years before he died, that if he ever walked into a church and it had inscribed above its altar, "You shall love the Lord God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself," he said, "that church I will join." He said, "but I haven't found it yet."
Lincoln saw the actions of the Confederacy in 1861 as an insurrection.
Duh.
Then why was he so lenient with them in 1863?
Lincoln's proclamation of amnesty and Reconstruction was anything but lenient.
You're kidding me. The word amnesty is literally in the title.
For God's sakes, the South had to dismantle their entire economic structure.
You're defending the South?
I'm defending Lincoln's efforts to reunify the United States so we're still a country today.
Dealing with the same racism he did.
That's not his fault.
The hell it isn't, Abe. He slapped their hands and welcomed them back.
He was assassinated, Harriet. His proclamation died with him.
I could still be mad.
Are you angry or are you disappointed?
Lincoln guided America through a war that cost the lives of more than 500,000 men, brothers killing brothers on their own soil. But when the war was done, there was a dangerous and delicate act of Reconstruction, how to bring North and South back together under one flag. Lincoln proposed a plan that allowed the states to re-enter the Union if only 10% of their voting population swore allegiance. After Lincoln's assassination, Senator Benjamin F. Wade and Representative Henry Winter Davis proposed and helped pass another plan, an ironclad oath, 50% of the state's voters.
He didn't do enough.
Was there anything he could have done to erase 250 years of oppression?
Are we the unified states of America who hold the same truths to be self-evident? Or are we the united by location states of America? Where does the right of governance lie? With the federal government or with each state? Lincoln said that it was imperative that the issue of slavery be decided one way or another at the federal level.
That's the problem. I mean, that's where we have been for a long time. And Lincoln said it also in his speech when he was nominated by the Republican Party for the Senate seat in Illinois. He said, "A house divided cannot stand. We must become all one thing or all the other."
Right. Yes. Quoting Christ.
Right. Yes. Exactly right. Yes. Right. Yeah. And guess what? One of his friends came to him and told him that he had just lost himself the election.
USA! 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 Traitor! I am a patriot!
I think you're confused, my friend.
I'm not your friend and I'm not confused.
I stand by my country. Nationalism is blind. We need to find common ground.
We have nothing in common.
So history repeats itself until we get it right.
Who's right? Your right is not my right, friend.
Morals matter.
Lives matter.
It's time to hit the reset button on the American experiment.
Your code of conduct has glitches.
Are you calling me a hypocrite?
What happened to love thy neighbor?
Lincoln is best known for the 13th Amendment that legally abolished slavery. But perhaps the most impact came from his work undoing the 10th Amendment that prohibited the federal government from making any law not approved by the states. The passage of the 14th Amendment fundamentally reversed that standing, stating, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws."
Lincoln said, "America will never destroy itself from the outside. If we falter
and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves."
Lincoln said, "A house divided cannot stand."
The United States of America cannot permanently endure half of one thing or half of another.
We do not expect the Union to be dissolved. We do not expect the house to fall. We do expect, however, it will cease to be divided.
America would become all one thing or all the other.
The Constitution declares the citizens of each state will be entitled to the privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states.
How then do we stand by? How do we allow the rights to be stripped away from citizens in one state that they would be guaranteed in another?
How do we stand under one flag, under one sovereign name, and allow the subjugation of our fellows just because they reside over state lines?
Of strange, discordant, and hostile elements, we gathered from the four winds, and we fought the Civil War through.
Under the hot fire of a disciplined, proud, and pampered enemy.
Did so many die then for our Union to falter now?
We shall not doubt, we shall not fail.
If we stand firm, if we stand united and represented, we shall not fail.
Wise counsel may accelerate our victory.
Unwise counsel may delay it.
If we govern not by the mercurial morals of one institution, but rather by the fundamental truths of democracy,
I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That is my religion. Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.